I feel very much at peace, actually. There have been some sleepless nights, I admit. Everything happens very quickly, but I really believe that God works through the Holy Father and the bishops in making decisions like this. And if I trust that if bishops have maybe recommended me and the Holy Father has discerned this is the right thing and the right place to go, then I want to do my best. I want to say yes. And so there's a certain peace that comes with that. And there's a lot of grace required to say yes, but I guess it opens a kind of floodgate to grace, and God will help. Yeah. Of course, I think the first thing is everything. I thought of my family, the diocese here, all of the immediately the tasks that have to be done. I'm rector of the seminary at the moment, and so all those things. So it's just a bit of turmoil, I think, at the beginning, but and certainly my own unworthiness in a lot of ways. I'm conscious of my own sins and but as you pray about it and you realize, kind of work through those things, and then sort of start to trust God's plan, as you try to do every day. Hey, just trust God's plan, and if He's asking me to do this, then I should say yes. Yeah. I don't know a lot about the diocese at the moment. Of course, the next you asked me what was going through my mind. Well, the next few days start researching on the internet and Wikipedia and what can I find out about this place. I know it's certainly it's part of that original diocese that Bishop Grandin had. So it was part of this large. It was part of what is now Edmonton, Calgary. That was all one big diocese at one point. So there's a whole historical connection with Bishop Grandin and that original missionary effort out in the West. And so there's a relation to Edmonton, which is nice. It's right on the same latitude, I suppose, the same just going east. I've been a priest for 21 years now here in the Archdiocese of Edmonton. I was ordained for this diocese, so it's home. Spent 41 years of my life here, so I've spent time in parishes as vocation director, briefly for a couple of years, and at the seminary for 16 years now. And so 16 years working with students, lay students, and then seminarians in formation. 9 of those years were as rector, so in charge of the formation program at the seminary. But a bishop, we believe, is the successor of the apostles, and so I really believe the Holy Father is asking me, or God is asking me through him, to go to this church. He's sending me there, so an apostle is someone sent, and I really believe, like we find in the scriptures, primarily an apostle is someone who witnesses to the risen Lord, and my job is to preach the gospel, and I love Jesus Christ and His gospel. I love the church, and I'm being sent now to this people and to evangelize. So I guess I'm seeing myself as a missionary, and working with a whole bunch of other good people there.
I guess the mixed reaction comes from a little bit of selfishness, because I, like many people here in the Archdiocese of Edmonton, would be sad to see now Bishop-elect Hero leave the Archdiocese. He's been a great presence here, a great servant of the Lord and servant of the church, had a huge impact, and who wants to see that coming to an end? And so I don't, and sad to see him go. But at the same time, we've got to think of the bigger church and the needs of the larger church. And we have a diocese that is now in need of a new bishop because the current bishop is retiring. And Father Hero will be a great one. We have long known that he's got wonderful leadership capacity. He will be a wise, gentle, caring, and clear shepherd. My advice to him would be twofold. I think the first would be, obviously, trust in the Lord. The task of a bishop can be a challenging one by times, to say the least, but the Lord makes all things possible. So trust in the Lord, rely upon His gifts, turn to Him daily, and just know that through the Lord, you will receive all that you need for the accomplishment of the episcopal ministry. Also, my advice would be to continue to be himself. He's a wonderful person in himself. He has shown himself to be a gentle priest, a very faithful priest, faithful to God, faithful to the church, faithful to himself. And if he brings those personal capacities into this new ministry, he will find that those will equip him and enable him to serve as a shepherd in a wonderful way.
I think my time in the seminary, has really helped me to see myself as a spiritual father the most. in that kind of close relationship with young men in discerning their vocation and being there 24 hours a day often, or when people need things, so that I think that helped me to have that experience of fatherhood in a deep way in my life. But of course, the spiritual fatherhood of a priest or a bishop is primarily through his leadership, through the preaching of the word, the celebration of the sacraments, and through that kind of direct ministry to people. In those ways, it's a generative role in sort of planting the seeds of faith through word, through sacrament, through care and compassion. So, as a bishop, you're in some ways removed a little bit from, in some ways, from all the parishes. But so that I think that the bishop is called to be the spiritual father, certainly of the whole diocese now. He represents Christ, the high priest, the head, the shepherd of this diocese, and so somehow he's gonna have to. It may be more challenging in a way because of that bigger picture or bigger area. So he needs to certainly work through a good ministry to his priests and that way, but also to find ways to really be present and to get to know himself. I think I need to get to know the different parish communities and the different peoples that are there and their histories, and so it's the same, I think, as the spiritual fatherhood of a priest, but you're given a bigger portion to look after, and that might be more challenging in some ways. And so not to be removed, it might be tempting to be a little bit removed, but to find ways to work with the priest, but also then directly with the people, and by visiting the parishes, getting to know them.